Hello fans of the TheMaykarLocomotive. It's been a long enough time. It's been 142 days since my last upload. 193 since the last time I recorded a video. In that time, in the time since I last recorded a video, I moved to college, which was about 5 hours after I finished my battle with Kooper. I left for Duquesne. Let's see, Pokemon X and Y came out. I've read exactly one Pokemon in that time, and within the last couple weeks, I've officially decided that I'm retiring from competitive battling with Pokemon. And that's the big announcement for this video. I knew, and I committed to the idea that in August, my battle with Kooper would be my last 4th gen battle, and I was okay with that. I came to terms with that. I decided that would just be best. But I've decided recently, for a while I was planning 6th gen series. That's why I bred a poke. But I've decided that it's not going to happen. I'm done with competitive battling. It's not extremely hard to say that, to be fully honest, but it will be very hard to stay away. I'm far from the first player to quit Pokemon, but I would also be far from the first to stay away from it forever. Plenty of people, pretty much everybody important to me in the game has quit and come back at some point. That's really the major announcement of this video. As far as other videos, I consider at this point Golden Sun the Lost Age a failure because it's on hiatus right now and I don't know when or if I will finish it. I do hope that I can, and I guess I hope I can do other stumbles or other LPs. I doubt I'll be streaming anything further. I don't know if that's for sure. I'm not going to make that as official as my retirement from battling. I will say though that my Geodude only Silver Run was my favorite stream event that I did, and I rewatched most of it within the last couple days. The main reason I'm quitting is just to liberate myself from that. It's been well over a year since I comfortably built a team and enjoyed the process. I just have lost all creative team building skills, and that's really the whole point to me. I still have a huge passion to play, and I still love the game. I just don't think I really can anymore, and I think it's best for me to say that I'm not going to. So I'm going to say one phrase I wrote down. I have a huge paper with everything I want to say listed. One reason I said is broken mental capacity. I just don't have it in me anymore. Even since I've decided that I'm not going to play anymore, every couple days the thought pops in my head, oh, Honedge. Well, what can I play that defends Honedge? Or Aegislash. What? Aegislash is new Pokemon. How can I defend against Aegislash? Oh, so what else pairs with that? And I just automatically have it in my head to build a team, but it's just been done to death in my head. I just have no originality. I have no new way to go about making a team, and I just don't think I can. I don't think I want to. Also, it doesn't help that Ghost type is completely broken. Gengar was one of my least favorite pokes to fight against in 4th gen because it was always so good to use against me, and I was so bad to using it. And they went and took away the most important and most accessible resistance to Ghost. You gotta be kidding me. They should have made Steel not resist Dark, kept Steel resistant Ghost. That aside, that's the major announcement. I'm still, like I said, I still love the game. It's honestly painful for me to go back and watch Xerxes and Kawalski battles. I haven't watched the Xerxes battle in months, probably since like the summer. I don't think I've watched the Xerxes battle since I got to Duquesne, at least a classic era battle. Same goes for Kawalski. Just so many good memories, and it's just hard for me to. Pokemon's such a nostalgia game for me. It's such a painful nostalgia because I can never have that time back. It's a chapter in my life that I'm going to miss, that I'm never going to forget. Yeah, incidentally enough, my first kiss came 10 days after my last Pokemon battle. But I think my last kiss will be before I forget about Pokemon. It's really been a terrific time in my life. It's been about 6 years, I think, maybe 5, of competitive battling. I'm gonna miss all 5 years, but there's not a moment of it that every moment of those 5 years in regards to Pokemon were worth it. So if you have any questions, if you just want to talk, please feel free to comment or send me a private message. I haven't been on Skype lately. I don't know if that's going to change, but yeah, whatever. So please feel free to talk. If you have any questions about why I'm done, please ask me. I'll be glad to talk about it more in depth. The next thing I want to talk about is what will I still be doing. Still be watching battles. Everybody who I love who posts a battle, I will watch. Which so far has just been Kooper. I loved his 6-inch series. Way to go, Koops. I hope I can still do stumbles and namely finish the Lost Age. I'm not sure if I can. If I can, it'll be over the summer. I don't know if I'm going to be working this summer. I don't know if I'm going to be going on a 5-week trip to Spain, which I'm considering. If I do that, I won't be working. I just don't know if I'll be able to. I'll definitely want to, but there's a lot of stuff I want to do in this summer, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to fit it in. And if not this summer, I don't know when. I already consider that a disappointment and a failure on my part because it just wasn't as good as the first game or as Final Fantasy VI, and it really should have been better because more experience and stuff. The main reason I say that is because I didn't finish the game, and it's really the first time. It's the first time in my as the TheMaykarLocomotive that I've said I was going to do something, upload something, and didn't because of my own faults. The other time I didn't was the July draft tournament, which I'll talk about later. But I lost my hard drive, and those files were lost. So the answer to what I will still be doing is hopefully stumbles, maybe stream. So we're 8 minutes in, and we're not even close to the end. So the rest of this video is going to be me just talking about my journey, my story with Pokemon, and that's on this checklist. That is 20 items, and then I have a couple more items about what I perceive the actual 4th gen story as a whole as, and then I have a little bit on the back about some shout-outs and some final thoughts. It's just me from here on out. It's just me telling the rest of my story. I'll be glad to stick around if you want to. I will be surprised if more than 5-10 people do and actually enjoy it. But I'm doing this more for me than anybody else, to be perfectly honest. That's the way my videos have always been. So, the first part of my 4th gen story is, one last thing before I start. Now that I think 4th gen DS Wi-Fi is going to go down in May, if that's correct. And I don't know anybody else who's currently still playing 4th gen, aside from Celebi's Hideout YouTube, who posted one of my favorite battles on YouTube against me that we had in fall of 2011. Anyway, so I highly encourage everybody else who I shared some 4th gen memories with, or who, if you've never seen me before and you just enjoyed 4th gen, post your story. Post your 4th gen story, link it in the comments or whatever, just tell me what it's about, and just tell your side of the story, and I'll be glad to hear other perspectives. The first step in my process was getting Diamond Version. This was April 2007, when I guess I was 11 years old still, and I was in middle school. So I was way too old to play Pokemon, obviously. Um, but I caved and bought the game, and of course I loved it. Um, I beat it after a month or whatever. And it wasn't my favorite game right off the bat. In fact, it might have been my least favorite story mode, but that's because they naturally get worse. Story mode was. And so I owned the game for a while, and then in seventh grade, which would have been 2007, maybe 2008. I don't know the chronology of this first section. Really, the first chronology I know for sure comes in April 2010. So anyway, in seventh grade, at some point, one of my best friend at the time was at my house, and he had his Nintendo DS, and there was a game in it. And I asked him what game he had. He was too embarrassed to say, so I figured it was. He had a younger sister. I figured it was some dumb game she had. So I took out the game and looked at it. He peeled off the label. So he says like, "Haha, you can't find out what game it is." So I grabbed to get my DS, and I'm going to put the game in and find out what it is. And so we go on a chase around my house because he's trying not to get me to find out what the game is. Well, eventually I fend him off, and I put the game in the DS, and it's Pokemon Diamond. And he says, "Great, you found my secret." And I said, "I have the game too, and I love this game." So we start playing the game, and maybe, I don't know how long it was after that, but 1, 2 a.m., sleeping over at his house. And he shows me this thing. It's preposterously shaped, but it fits into a DS. It's an action replay. And he gives me the full National Pokedex. So we're scrolling, we get to 461. And from there, pass into 462, never look back. 462, I believe, is Weavile, or it's whatever it is. It's all those fourth gen evolutions they made to previous books: Tangrowth, Rhyperior, Magnezone, Dusknoir, Electivire, Togekiss, Gallade. I know I'm forgetting some of them. Porygon Z. And then they go into some of the legendaries that I've never heard of: Giratina, Darkrai, Cresselia, Shaman, Rotom. And these pokes just mystify me. So, what are all these? So he shows me around, and we get I find a Giratina and all that. And I just had a bunch of fun finding all these pokes with actually. I was just blown away at all the pokes that were hidden away at the end of fourth gen. The fourth gen Pokedex. So, eventually just playing around with action replay, and eventually I assembled the dream team. If I remember correctly, I had a Empoleon, a Dragonite, which was the first time in my life I had owned a Dragonite, a Dialga, a Giratina, Arceus. I switched it between Steel and Dark, depending on which I thought cooler that day, and Darkrai. And I thought, oh, I have the best team ever. I wish I had people to play against, but unfortunately, I don't know who to play. So my friend didn't have it. My friend wasn't as into playing around with action replays as I was. Now somewhere along that process, I mentioned that I had a Dragonite. I didn't know how to find Dratini in fourth gen, so what I did was I went online. I searched how to find Dratini, and Maryland had a. Oh, by the way, Maryland state flag tie. It's the best state flag in the U.S., and this is an awesome tie. I'm dressed up too because this is a very formal video, so I wanted to dress very formal. So I found a Maryland video on how to find Dratini, and so I looked at that, and that's how I found Dragonite. I assembled my dream team, and then I found a link to. From there, it was in related videos, because YouTube used to have that much of recommended videos that said, "Oh, a Wi-Fi battle, Maryland versus Untouchable." So I clicked on that. One thing I noticed was, how does his Blissey have 714 HP? I can't get mine to have a buff 650, 640. So I watched that, and eventually I find an MTG Xerxes Wi-Fi battle, And so I just start watching all these different Wi-Fi battles, and I say, wow, that's cool, that looks like fun, I want to do this. So I did some research. This is where I found out about EVs, IVs, just all the mechanics that go into the game. And then I found about like metagame, like OU, the tiers and all that. And just the world came crashing down. Pokemon is so complex. Not only have I found all these amazing Pokemon that I didn't know exist, but all these amazing mechanics behind the game. So, of course, I built a team. My first team, I know I had Togekiss, Yanmega, and Mamoswine, Blissey, I think Weavile, and I have no idea. It wasn't a. I don't think it was a Skarmory, but so I made this first team, and this is. I'm sure this was 2008, if not 2009. No, it must have been 2008. And it was terrible, obviously. So I tried to go online, and I can't because of my Wi-Fi. So I go online and I buy the Nintendo Wi-Fi USB connector. And fun fact: every single Wi-Fi battle I have done in my life is thanks to this. Thanks to this Wi-Fi USB connector, which is just it's amazing for me to hold this in my hand. And every Pokemon battle I've had in my life was within 30 feet of where I'm sitting right now. So I never had a battle outside of my house. Yeah, I've been to two. There's two other rooms that I've done battles in. No, three kind of kitchen. Anyway, I go on Wi-Fi. I have some battles, and finally I figure out like, I want to record and post battles. And so I bust out my camera, and obviously they're terrible quality, and I was a terrible narrator. There is this was all on a previous channel called lowercase z OMG Pokemon, OMG Pokemon, and there's one. As far as I know, there's one video existing that I made as OMG Pokemon. And that's linked below. I had it as a private or unlisted video for a while for Kamon's 23rd birthday, but I'll release it to the public now. So early days Wi-Fi, I was terrible. And I'm also watching like Kawalski battles at this point. But Xerxes is my favorite battler to watch. But I think at this time, I don't think he was currently posting. I think this was late 2008, and I think Xerxes was on that was during his big gap. I think I'm not positive about the chronology. But at some point then after that, Platinum comes out. So of course I get Pokemon Platinum, and I play it. I love it. I do Wi-Fi battles on it, and I'm a little bit better, but I'm still pretty lousy at the game. And it's around this time that Kowalski starts posting Platinum battles. Actually, it was definitely before I got the game. And I was just blown away. It was music I'd never heard before. It's all electronic and weird, and I don't know what it is. And his battles are way different. They're much like he's using different pokes. The people he was battling, they didn't like use Blissey. It was like they just didn't want to use all the real popular pokes. It was just a different feel to the battle. It was much more thought out, and much like smoother, much less. There's a battle. One of his early battles, he faces a Dragon Dance Gyarados that has Surf as its only attack. So for about 3 minutes, it's Weavile versus Gyarados, and it's Ice Punch, Ice Punch, Ice Punch, Surf, 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 and eventually Gyarados dies. There's not any of that in Platinum. It's much cleaner, much smoother, much more interesting battles, and much different music that fits a lot. It fits every bit as well as the hard rock and metal that Kowalski used to use fit these Diamond battles, but it fits these Platinum battles. Now, I'll get to that more. I'll talk about the videos more in depth later, but I was just mystified by these videos. And then in, I think it was April of 2010, my best friend at the time, different guy from the friend from middle school, but my best friend from high school at the time, this was my freshman year of high school, he finds my YouTube channel and he says, "What is this? Is this you?" And I say, "Yeah." and I was incredibly embarrassed. That night, I closed my channel, deleted the YouTube channel Zoned in Pokemon. And I told him, like, dude, please don't tell anybody about this. I'm really embarrassed. I never told anybody in real life, aside from my other middle school friend, who obviously didn't want other people knowing that he played. So I hadn't told anybody about that I played Pokemon and wanted anybody to know. So I closed my channel. I said, it's too embarrassing. I can't do it. I'm done. I lasted a couple months, and then in October of 2010, I said, you know what, I can't live without Pokemon. I have to play this game. So I bought a used copy of Pokemon Platinum. I still had my action replay, so I built a team, started a new channel. If you don't know the story behind it, I said start a new YouTube channel. I said TheMaykarLocomotive, spelled M-A-K-A-R, the way my name is. And I said something like, create channel or something like that. And they said, like, oh, you don't have a email linked to this YouTube channel. So I said, okay, so I just started over the process. So I said, emails MWMaker. Okay, what do you want your YouTube channel to be? TheMaykarLocomotive. That's taken. Okay, so I put a Y in front of Maykar, and TheMaykarLocomotive wasn't available. So I put a Y in front so people know how to pronounce it. Of course, Xerxes doesn't pronounce it right. And that's how my channel got saved. So in October 2010, I think I started my channel. And soon after, I go to the Maryland forums. I start doing battles. I start posting them. I'm still terrible at the game. And then in late November, early December, I'm watching Xerxes battle, because when I came back to Bugs, he was the first guy I started watching, because obviously he was my favorite battler to watch the whole time. And he just finished a series, so that is actually when I first watched the Psycho series. The Psycho series was released during my last few months of my first retirement period. I also, when I say, like, I don't count that as quitting and coming back to the game, just because I completely started anew, and in those couple months since I was gone, I had a completely different personality. I was embarrassed. I was still embarrassed by the name Zone in Pokemon. Come on. I had a completely new personality, completely new approach to the game, completely new respect for the game. So I don't consider it as quitting and coming back. I consider that as my early days and my actual days. But anyway, I find that MTG Xerxes has a chat. It's called the Pokemon Zat. I don't know what Zat is. So go on there, and I meet some new people. Xerxes is on there. Obviously, I can't talk to him because at this point you needed pretty much an appointment to talk to Xerxes. But I get to talk to new people. There's a bunch of people to battle, and I start posting battles again. And I'm terrible, but eventually, I get my legendary webcam. I keep battling, and it's around this time. It was in December that I met Kooper Kushiro, who's one of the most important people to my Pokemon career. Arguably, he's the most important person in my Pokemon Diamond career, because he's the only reason I'm able to breed stuff. And in March, I met Kamon, and we had our first couple of battles in March. And so throughout 2011, I started to love the game more and more. I started to learn about the game more and more. I never really got to that point, and I just didn't really learn about the game much as Zone in Pokemon. But I'm learning about the game. I'm building new teams the whole time. And in spring of 2011, this is while Xerxes tournament, the March Madness is happening, and he has a team with a defensive triangle, which stomped all over my team because my team was terrible. That's my biggest regret in my Pokemon career, is that I didn't have a better March Madness team. I tried to use Crobat as one of my OUs, which, by the way, if I had Crobat in that Xerxes fight, completely different. Honchkrow was useless. Crobat would have been invaluable. Anyway, but Xerxes has a team with a defensive triangle: Zapdos, Milotic, and Blissey. I said, I like the concept of the defensive triangle. How about Blissey, Fortress, and Gardevoir? And that was the biggest turning point in my career. Eventually, and then I decided that Slowbro's part of the triangle and Gardevoir is not. Gardevoir is a better supporter than part of the actual triangle. Anyway, so I make that team, and that's Future Forward. And then I find that Kawalski's coming back. and I actually got to be Kowalski's first battle when he returned, and that was probably the most exciting moment of my Pokemon career. One of the more exciting moments in my life, embarrassingly enough, because he was just such a legend already, and he's only grown in status since then. And I did lose to him, which at the time killed me inside. I was so disappointed in myself. Now I'm okay with that because I got to see Kowalski win a battle, which when I watch his Platinum videos, that's the only part I don't like, is that he doesn't win many of them during the Platinum era. But I definitely could have won that battle. I shouldn't have brought the same team twice. We played the first time and he had like a wrongly sapped Pokemon. So we replayed and I used the same team, which was a mistake. Because I had like reversal Lucario up my sleeve, which I shouldn't have let him know that. And then, so after the spring of 2011, which was really the, let me just make sure I have everything where I wrote it up. After the spring of 2011, at this point I'm like a big member of TPX. You know, I'm actually friends with Xerxes. I've had a battle with him. I got to battle him with his mixed tier team. I've counted all his usage stats for this Pokemon, which is just fun for me. And then the summer of 2011 hits, which is probably the best summer of my life. And I refer to that now as my halcyon days of Pokemon. This is the time where I showed the fastest improvement in my game. It's the time where I had the most fun playing, where I would just sit down and just enjoy playing a game of Pokemon. More than any of them. Obviously, I always enjoyed battling, but this was more than any other. I just enjoyed to play the game on. I just found so much new stuff. I was learning about the game, figuring out all this stuff. One thing Xerxes said to me when I was building that defensive triangle, that Toxic is really offensive and Burn is stalling, and I thought, wow, like that changes everything. And you know, I just learned how to stall from him, and so summer 2000 was really where I figured out what I was as a battler, and I love going back and watching my battles from that time because that's when I started to use music in my battles, and some people prefer my narration. I always prefer watching my own battles when they have music, because I don't really like listening to the sound of my own voice. So the summer of 2001 was just awesome. This was also when I got to 27,000 seconds in Nyan Cat. This is when I rewatched the first season of Pokemon anime. It was just the summer of Pokemon for me, and I love it. It was so much fun. I just had a blast with all the Pokemon stuff that was going on that summer. And then in August of 2011, I buy Pokemon Diamond again, and I decide I'm going to start breeding again. And so I beat Pokemon Diamond, and I start breeding my team, and that's when I had the Winter 2011 Battle Series, which was the first battle in my prime as a battler. I was just I was battling pretty darn well. I'm not going to say unbeatable, but it was close to as good as it got for me. Unfortunately, Kamon couldn't participate in that battle. This was really when the Diamond Brothers were starting to be really tight. Kooper did participate in that battle series, and that's how we got the legendary W11/001, his version of the battle, which is much better than mine because my narration pales in comparison to his anno narration with music. He was just brilliant with that upload. I've watched it so many times. We were so brilliant with that battle because we both wanted to stall, and it was just so many predictions on our side. It was such a great battle, so great to watch. But that series was just amazing to me. It was so much fun. I loved my team. That's still one of the better teams I have. Like if you tell me to put 6 folks together on Diamond, that's very well arguably the best combination of 6 folks I can put together. And then after that, that tournament or that series occurs. There started to be a bunch more tournaments. The Xerxes tournament, which was I got to the semifinals for 14, but I really should have won. That tournament as a whole was a big disappointment. Kooper and Kamon ended up hating it. I ended up enjoying it. My team could have been so much better. I could have won my semifinal game if I had made like a couple moves differently. Who knows if I would have beaten Mike Deck. Actually, you know what? He had a dancing D Knight, so I would not have beaten him. No chance against a D Knight with the team I had, unless I got like hacks, which would have been done. But that tournament was the biggest point. But then we had the draft tournament, which was awesome, and I had an absolute gem against Mal. I would have had a gem against Andrew, but we DC'd twice after like a total of 4 hours of battling. And then we redid it, and he beat me 6-0. We got a Swords Dance set tile in the roulette we did to decide it. But a bunch of people dropped out of that tournament, and it ended up being somewhat of a failure, but the premise was everybody loved the premise. Um, so it was. We decided that we were going to do some more draft tournaments, and I just had a blast with that. I got to breed some new pokes with that. But that was quite enjoyable. And this is also when I started my Final Fantasy VI stumble, which was such a great time. It was just so much fun. So many memories from Final Fantasy VI. Playing that game and stumbling it, and it's my first LP on the channel. How can it not be so? How can there not be so much memory in that game? Just so much love that went into that game. I think for me not growing up playing JRPGs, for me to do that with Final Fantasy VI and have just so many memories, so much love put into that game, it just makes it a very special game for me. And I argue that that game is very special to me. Like, maybe not as special to me as it is to Xerxes, but it's a very special game to me, and I don't think anyone can argue that, even though the first time I played the game was in 2012. And on my list, I describe this as the final ascent in my journey, because the July draft tournament was the peak. This draft tournament, I drafted very well in, but more importantly, I battled impeccably. I was so good at just battling things, and this was really when I reached this is really the height of my prime as a Pokemon battler. I was so good at deciding which 6 Pokemon to bring and just breaking the game up. I had one thing that I love about myself is I had such an identity as a battler, just this mathematical approach. Like, I don't need to make all these predictions, I just need the better plan. I need to know which move is objectively better. I need to balance risk. I need to assess risk and decide how to minimize it without making predictions, without going out on a limb. And so I just had the game figured out, and it really showed. I ended up winning that tournament. This would have been 7 battles to upload, and they were all amazing to watch, and they all had awesome music selection. They were all songs that I'd wanted to use for years, all songs that I had wanted to use for years in battles, but I just hadn't, and I got to use all these songs, and won the tournament, which is incredible. It had the final against Blah, which thankfully he uploaded to YouTube. The final against Blah is quite possibly the best battle I've been a part of. It ended in 1-0. There's hacks on both sides. There are awesome predictions on both sides. And I will easily say it was the most intense situation in Pokemon, that endgame situation. Medicham and Cresselia versus Torterra and Gardevoir. Such an amazing endgame situation. We both did really well that game. One of my favorite battles in my career. But then in August, my hard drive crashed and I lost all my files. So I lost my July draft tournament footage before I got a chance to upload it. And a big loss of that was my 6-0 loss against Kooper, which was my only loss of the tournament. And I had no regrets. Once he swept me with the Togekiss, and I said, you know what, I'm happy with that. My friend just walloped me, and that is awesome. And I believe that is I think that was the first time, I'm going to say for sure, it was the first time since the beginning of 2011 that I got 6-0. I might have gotten 6-0 early days as the TheMaykarLocomotive when I sucked, but starting at January 1st, 2011, I did not get 6-0 in the Pokemon battle until whatever day it was I fought Kooper. Just legendary, and I was so sad to lose that to lose the battle footage. And so that was really the head of my prime. And then right after that, the fall, starting with my new hard drive, I started Golden Sun, which is another, not as, I didn't really, not speaking as a viewer, it wasn't as enjoyable to do just because it wasn't as good a game. It wasn't as, legendary moment. It wasn't playing such a hallowed game with my first LP. I knew what I was doing more, so it was more manageable at times, less frustrating. And I think, objectively it was a better made series because I knew what I was doing, but it wasn't as well. But it was a really great game, and I thought it was a really fun stumble. And I really did my best to make it a good series. Like with the rap I did for the finale, that was just a bunch of fun. And then after that, I just started, doing some more battles here and there, like over the winter of 2012, started to 2013. And on my list, I have Spring 2013 as the downfall. Spring 2013 was really when I just lost my ability to make teams. I would say, oh, I want to use a bulky tan growth. Oh, what can I pair with that? What are its weaknesses? How do I defend against those? Because I just had this one approach to the game, which had worked for me. That was how I won the draft tournament. But I couldn't make a team. I couldn't put 6 Pokemon together, look at them, and say, this is a good team and I'm going to enjoy using it. I could either put 6 Pokemon together and say, okay, these are going to work well together, or I could say, these are 6 Pokemon and I think they're going to be fun together. There wasn't anything more that I wanted to use that was new. There wasn't anything I could make that was new. I couldn't think of anything new. I couldn't bring anything new to the team building element of the game, and so I just couldn't make a team anymore. I still loved to battle, and I still did battle a lot. I have a bunch of great uploads. All my battles from the 50s and 60s, or maybe like late 50s and 60s in terms of number on my channel, are from this era. And they're all great watches. They all have great fits of music. So those are really those are probably the battles that I watch the most, or the most recent. But I just couldn't make a team anymore. And then summer of 2013 hit, and I hate to say it, but it was really my social life started to conflict a lot, because this was really the first time that I had like a group of friends that I hung out with a lot, and I really had I really was like wanted a lot by a group of friends, and that just started to eat into my video making time. I did my Lost Age stumble at this time, and like I said, I consider that a failure because I didn't finish it. I just didn't get to do it. But it was around this time I said, you know what, I need to have a battle series. I want, like way before that, I had said to myself and Kooper, oh, we're going to have a winter 2012 series. Obviously that didn't happen. But I think that was supposed to be in Black 2, Pokemon Black 2, which obviously was far away from it. Though I did have a team planned, I just didn't get around to doing it, luckily, because that would have been a mistake. But anyway, I said over the summer 13, like, I need to have a final battle. Like, how do I can't build a team. How do I have a final battle series that does my career justice if it might be the last time I'm playing 4th gen? And I decided, you know what, I can't plan a team. I can't breed anything new. So I grabbed some Pokemon. It was a mix from Platinum and Diamond Pokes, and I put them together in a team that I thought reflected all the pokes that I wanted to use and that I enjoyed using, but also a team that worked well, and a team that like fit my style. So it was what was a Crobat lead. Obviously, what else could I lead with? A Starmie Rapid Spinner, which Starmie was on every team I made, starting with the winter team forward. So the winter 11 series, Xerxes, first draft tournament, second draft tournament, and my last team. My last 5 teams all had Starmie. So it was Crobat, obviously Starmie, a Bronzong, which I just thought was a cool poke that I hadn't used in a while, and I just liked Bronzong. I thought he fit. My Zapdos, Zapdos came last. Gardevoir, who I just love. Will-O-Wisp is my favorite move in the game. Combining it with Wish Protect, it's the perfect Pokemon for Maykar. I had Swords Dance Sizer, which is a Kamon original poke. I think I just copied his set, except I put Bug Bite over Superpower. It's just an awesome Pokemon. Um, so Crobat, Sizer, Bronzong, Starmie. What was the last one? Who was my last poke? I had Zapdos, but he was kind of a filler, interestingly. Um, I didn't have Dragonite. Who did I have in that team? Oh, I cannot move on until I figure this out. I'm sorry. I need to look up what my what my fifth Pokemon on that team was. Um, this is pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic that I have to do this. Crobat, Bronzong, Starmie, Sizer, Zapdos. I didn't have Duskmore, did I? Who am I missing? This is so embarrassing. I can't remember my own damn team. Oh, Gardevoir. I was not counting Gardevoir. It was yeah, Crobat, Starmie, Gardevoir, Sizer, Bronzong. Yeah, okay. Zapdos was the last one. I wanted a special wall, um, like something to handle Gengar, and I had a Zapdos on my Platinum that had some special defense ball. No, that one was like 216 defense EVs and 40 or whatever special defense. Um, but I wanted typing wise, Zapdos was the only fit I had to work. Um, and obviously Sudroost is just lethal. And Zapdos probably ended up being the MVP of that team. Anyway, so I had a couple battles. The first battle I had with that team was an absolute gem in the making. It was the whole battle centered around Sizer versus Snorlax. He had a Snorlax early on, and I said, well, if he has Fire Punch, he wins because I can't stop it. So I sent in Sizer, I Swords Danced up, and here Earthquake. So I roosted or bug bit, and I got him out of there. He had a Zapdos and a Blaziken. I was slowly eating away at their health. Um, once I got one of those dead, he was going to be gone. Sizer was going to be able to sweep his whole team. Um, it was just such a great battle back and forth because obviously if Sizer died on my team, I was going to get swept. Um, so it was just such a great battle, but it DC'd and we just decided we can't make it up because I had Zapdos burned or something. I had like all the healths were low and we just couldn't make it up. Um, so I had a couple other battles all of which I enjoyed. The Super Mario one, oh no, that one. The Super Mario one I just got beat. He beat me. What else can I say? And then no, you know what? I'm sorry. The Kote one. The Kote one was hacks because he paralyzed Zapdos. I think it was a crit paralyzed, and then he got hacks, or maybe it wasn't a crit. But that completely turned the game around. So it's the day before my last, so 2 days before I had to leave for college. I get a battle with Super Mario, who was the subject of my OU 51 beatdown. That's arguably the best I've battled. That and OU 37 are definitely up for consideration in that because I just had every prediction down. I had he couldn't get anything going. I just shut him down. He got the better end of the hack. He got the far better end of the hacks in that game, and I just wasn't having it. I just crushed him. I dominated. I made every play right. But that game, it came down. He got some hacks that really helped, like 2 flamethrower burns that completely turned the game around. But the end game situation was completely winnable for me, and he won. And that night I was devastated because it was probably going to be my last battle, and I completely lost it in the clutch. So the day before I have to leave for college, August 19th, I'm absolutely frantic. And my Wi-Fi isn't even working, but Kawalski's on Skype and he agrees to battle. So I run around. Eventually, I get my Wi-Fi USB stick. I get it to work, and I battle Kawalski, and it was incredible, and I won. Even though he got the hacks, but I won. I beat Kowalski, so that definitely helped redeem the first time we battled. Um, he didn't record that battle. He knew he was done uploading a while ago. And then I battled Kooper, and it's a 3-hour classic. I don't care if anybody else enjoyed that game. I loved it. Kooper loved it. It was the only way to end 4th Gen for us. A 3-hour stall war. But really, my team outmatched his because my team was way too. It was 6 folks with weapons. Come on, make It was a really jerk move of the team to bring, and it just had his number. His best chance to win, of course, was a Togekiss sweep, which he got close to having at one point, but I ended up stopping. And so it was just such a amazing battle. And then I left for college, and I uploaded my battles, and that's the last you've seen of me. I really haven't been keeping in touch with all of my fans, which is partially just because it hurts, not being able to. I can't play Pokemon on my school's Wi-Fi. I tried to breed and have a team ready for winter break, and I just didn't. So I just haven't been keeping in touch, mostly just because if I just don't try to keep in touch, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to know that I'm drifting away from all my Pokemon friends. It's just sad. And that's the main reason I haven't been keeping in touch, but I hope to change that. Anyway, so I apologize for that to all my fans and friends. That's where my story ends. My last 4th Gen series was incredible. I went 4-2, which was pretty consistent with my winning percentage on my Diamond game. Winning 2/3 of my games. That was pretty consistent with how I did. I was very proud of myself for how I battled. Really, the only game where I didn't play well was the Super Mario game, but I more than redeemed that thanks to Kawalski and Kooper giving me 2 incredible unforgettable battles. Next, I want to tell my version of how I perceive the 4th Gen story as a whole, because as I've come to this, I've decided Pokemon to me is more about 4th Gen than it is about Pokemon. 4th Gen had the perfect mix of there were enough items. It wasn't 3rd Gen where you had either Choice Band or Leftovers or a berry. You had a bunch of different options like Expert Belt, Choice Scarf, obviously, Focus Sash. The perfect amount of options to use. There were so many viable pokes. Like Xerxes did his whole NU series where he used NU pokes to win against OU, like main tier guys, and did pretty well. But there weren't too many options like there are in 5th and 6th Gen where you just can't possibly have a team that beats everything or that hopes to beat. If you make a team, you're missing out on beating half the teams out there. Like 5th and 6th Gen, there's just too many options that you can't use all of the options. 4th Gen had such a perfect blend. It was the perfect point in the Pokemon series where you had enough options but not too many, so you could use whatever you want and be successful as long as you're good at the game, which you can't do in 5th and 6th Gen in my opinion. And most importantly, this happened when Wi-Fi was first capable for the Pokemon series. 2007 I have written as the Discovery era. That's when everybody found out about the game. Nobody knew what they were doing. You look at like Xerxes battles then, and he's making the most obvious plays. He's making such basic predictions, but nobody else knew how to predict them. So that's why he stood out, because he was like as he said, it was harder to be good, easier to be great, and he was great in that era. He was just ahead of everybody else. Nobody knew what was going on. Kowalski's battles are so funny to watch from that time because he just didn't know what he was doing. The teams were so basic and structured. It was two walls, two sweepers, a lead, and like a scarfer or some form of glue or a support clerk. Um, it was just such a basic approach to the game from what we see now. 2008 was a learning curve. That's where some people start to set themselves apart. It's where you start to see some diversity in the choices. Some people are saying, "Hey, it's dumb to use Blissey every game. I'm going to use some original stuff. I'm going to throw some of my own ideas into Pokemon, even if they're not as objectively better. I think they're more fun to do that." And 2009 was for me the perfect era of Pokemon, and this isn't speaking as I wasn't I wasn't really battling 2009 the way the people that I enjoyed were, which is mostly Kowalski. Um, but I wasn't really battling well in 2009. I wasn't a part of this, but it was where people knew enough about the game, but not too much, just to the point where it was perfect. That you had a mixture of uncertainty of nobody has the game. Nobody was doing damage calcs every move like I was at the end of the game. Nobody was putting all the calculations into their team like I was. But at the same time, people knew a lot about the game. And but another great part about this era of 2009 was that people wanted to not use Blissey, and this goes for Kowalski especially. Nobody wanted to bring Heatran, Blissey, Scarflygon, Jirachi, Gyarados, and Swampert to every match. Um, and that just made for the perfect videos to watch. I don't think those videos will ever be unwatchable because, one, it's an era we can never get back to, but it's also an era that's timeless. Because because we can never get back to those eras, those battles have their own value. It's not like 2007 where it's just, oh, these players, they were not as good as us. 2009, you can say some of the players were as good as we are now. Most of them weren't. But they were just using the atmosphere and the attitude that went into 2009 is completely unreachable again. That's a huge problem I had with my team building over the last year or so, is that I wanted to make a platinum style team, but I couldn't because nobody else was, and all the platinum style pokes, which were original then, weren't original anymore. And if I made a platinum style team, it would be going against modern era teams, and I would get stopped. I couldn't make a platinum team, keep it true to the era, and have it succeed, which was a big part of me wanting a final battle series. 2010 is the overdevelopment period. That's where the greatness of 2009 was finally over, and it was still great. It was still a great time to make and watch Pokemon battles, but that was really where we started to get too much into the game. And this is where Heart Gold and Soul Silver came out, and it was just this is the point where there was too much knowledge of the game. 2011 is the breaking point. That's when it started to become evident, and that's when it started to the metagame as a whole. For me, interestingly, I was on the rise at this point, but this is where the metagame as a whole collapsed. Fifth gen came out, everybody was transitioning to that, and so it just left the last survivors of fourth gen, the last bastions of fourth gen Wi-Fi battling, saying, "Well, we like fourth gen better, and we're going to stick it out until we can't no more." And that was the point where we really noticed, like, hey, this metagame is stagnant. We're not going to see anything. There's not much new to be found in this game that hasn't been found already. And while there was a lot of improvement for me to find, there wasn't much new stuff out there. And 2012 or 13 was the last stand. Just the group, the TPX squad was just this secluded bulwark of fourth gen Wi-Fi battling. We weren't ready to let go. We kept battling, damn it, and we loved it. We had so much fun in this era. We were the only ones left, and it was sad, but it was very enjoyable, and it was a very fun couple years of battling where there was only a small group of people left in 4th gen. And I'm glad to say I was a part of that. I'm glad to say I was one of the last real 4th gen battlers. Um, and I like to think that at the end of 4th gen, I was one of the better players. Obviously, a lot of people are going to disagree with that, but just to me, I like thinking about that because I had my own style, I had my own approach to the game. That's very special to me. So that's just how I perceived the Pokemon, the 4th gen story. Another reason I'm not as anxious to keep playing, obviously there's a lot, like it's still the same mechanics, it's the same series, so there's a lot of elements to 6th gen that make me want to play, but the story of Pokemon can't go any further. In my opinion, it's stopped. Because it just really hasn't changed. The story hasn't changed, even though the people and the Pokemon and the mechanics have changed since 2011. The story can't go any further because we know there's never going to be a period where we don't know what's in a Pokemon game, where there's people who battle on Wi-Fi who don't know what EVs and IVs are. There's never going to be that learning curve period where we don't know what's happening. There's never going to be the discovery era again. And that's really why I don't think I can play Pokemon competitively anymore, is because there's no story to it. It's just game is released and we know what's in it. We know how to battle. We're all good at Wi-Fi battling. It's just a matter of putting the new pokes together and figuring them out. And it's not the same, and there's no narrative to Pokemon Wi-Fi battling anymore. There aren't any more eras. There just isn't any development to it. And I just can't. I'm not as drawn to that. So now the shoutouts I have. First are the Xerxes and Kawalski videos. Xerxes videos, I think all of you know my opinion on them. They're so special to me. They mean so much. They're so important to the game of Pokemon in my opinion because he was the first best battler, and he just changed the game so much. He added narration to it. He added so much soul. He added so much character to the game of Pokemon, and I guess there's not that much for me to say. One thing I think is interesting that I pointed out a couple times is his 74th standard battle uploaded was against Kawalski, and that was his first battle uploaded on Platinum because he actually forgot to record it or whatever. So Kawalski sent him the footage, so Xerxes uploaded it. Sorry, so Xerxes uploaded it, and that was his last. I think that was his last battle for like a year and a half, and then he comes back, and obviously the game's completely different. So I think that was just very symbolic. And then his Psycho series, obviously, is the best series of Pokemon battles ever produced. They were uploaded in the fall of 2010, but they didn't lose. What was great about them is that they kept the essence of 2009. How this was like the final. First off, his team was so original. It was such a new combination of pokes, and I think only one of them had leftovers, which to me is a sign that it's really like different and not just standard put the pokes together team. But it was such a thought out team, but it had the essence of 2009 battles, with the way that he didn't face any Dragon Dance Gyarados. He didn't face any Scarf Jirachis in that series. I don't think he faced any Scarf Flygas. He just didn't face really standard teams. So, and that was the problem with 2010, is that all the teams were becoming standard. It was just becoming much more homogenous. So he had the best parts of 2009 just with the knowledge of 2010. And that's how he was able to make it the greatest series of all time, because he had the extra knowledge without having the extra monotony that was added in 2010. Kowalski videos, on the other hand, are much more abstract and much more, in an odd way, much more emotional to me, because his videos embody that story, that narrative of 4th gen much better than anybody else. Not much more than Xerxes, but because of the music he chose, he embodied that story much better. Because early on, when he uploaded Diamond Battles, he used Hard Rock, Lay Down by Priestess, Purple Haze by Jimi Hendrix, uh, a lot of Wolf Mother he was using at this time, and it fit Diamond videos really well. It was like classic rock with classic Pokemon battles. And then when Platinum came out, like I mentioned before, his whole style of battles changed. It was completely different, and he was using electronic music. He was using a lot of Pendulum, which I had never heard before. He was using like Spore, Stomp Block remix, which is a legendary drum and bass song. Um, just using all this electronic music, and I didn't know what it was, but it fit so well. And that summer of 2011 was also the first time I started listening to EDM, which is what I still listen to today. A lot of the same music, really. So Kawalski's also responsible for my musical taste right now. Pendulum and Daft Punk are my two favorite bands, and they were the two most. I think they were his two favorite bands, and when he was uploading Platinum videos. So he just managed to fit so much. He really, his videos are the storyline of fourth gen Pokemon to me. That, classic era, doesn't know what he's doing, puts hard rock, like 70s music with it, and then puts new, something I've never heard before, electronic music with these battles that were so perfect, so interesting to watch, there was so much more to these battles than ever before. And 4 or 5 years now removed from those battles, it's honestly just kind of hard for me to watch the battles because they're so. That era can never be reached. It's, like I said, it's kind of the end of that learning curve of Pokemon. And we're never going to be there again because everybody knows what's going on with Pokemon. For as much as I want to say about Kowalski's videos, I can't say anymore. I'm happy with the last couple minutes of how I've articulated my thoughts on Xerxes and Kowalski, but they mean so much to me, and those. Hopefully, I'm going to continue to watch those battles because they're very important to me and they mean a lot to me, and I get really emotional watching Xerxes and Kowalski battles. The next shout out is Xerxes' personality, and there's much less to be said. I just wanted to mention that how important it is to me, the heroic attitude Xerxes had, and what he taught, all he taught me personality-wise and emotionally. And obviously, as an intern for him, I became a really good friend of his. I play fantasy football with him now. So Xerxes as a person just means a lot to me. I just felt that deserved recognition. I just wanted to mention that he stood out not only for his videos but for who he was, who he is. Even though it seems like he's done with fourth gen as well, which I'm okay with. And then the next shout out is the Diamond Brothers. I don't really know what more to say. One thing I do want to mention is that Kamon never really got to be a part of a battle series with me, which was really upsetting. And I really thought it was a disappointment to me that Kamon never got around to uploading battles, and that he kind of had such a falling out with the game. That was really upsetting for me to see. And I guess if I could change one thing that happened with my Pokemon career that I had no part in, it would be that for Kamon to get more involved. That said, I had so many great times, so many great experiences streaming and Skyping with, and playing Pokemon with Kamon and Kooper. Their friendships are still so important, even though I've fallen kind of out of touch with them. They're so important to me, and I'm so glad that I have those two friends. I just want you to guys know that even though I haven't talked to you recently, you're very important to me. I want you to know. I just want you guys to remember that. Diamond Brothers for life. I have two sections left. The second to last is what I'm going to miss from Pokemon. It's such a unique game. You have as much time as you want this is fourth gen, of course, to think about a move. There's so many levels of prediction, there's so many levels of mathematics and mechanics that you can choose to ignore or delve into. There's just so much so much of this game, so much thought that goes into the game, so much strategy that I've really never found with any other game, and that's what I'm gonna miss. Um, just battling it. A Pokemon battle is such a rush. It's such. I remember there was one time over the summer of 2012 where I was just having a really rough day, and I said, I need to change. Just like I felt like I needed to take a drug, so I did a Pokemon battle, and everything was right with the world when I did that. Um, and obviously, I'm gonna miss the people. It's sad to me that I don't have as strong of an internet community anymore, and that's entirely my fault for falling out of touch with these awesome people that I know. And the last section is successes and failures. I'll start with failures. One is that I went out pretty strong, so I'm not going to say that my final series wasn't stronger because I'm very happy with my final series. My biggest failure was the March Madness tournament. My team sucked, um, and I didn't play as well against Xerxes as I would have liked. Um, the other big failure was the game against Kawalski. I just could have played so much better. I could have used a new team. I let myself down with that match. Successes, the biggest one is that I had a thing, that I had a reputation. I'm so proud of myself for having that. Even though it was one of an evil, complete butt of a battler. So stally and so unnecessary with some of the plays I made. Um, but I was just really happy that I was recognizable, that I had a style, that that I set myself apart. I was very proud of that. And another success, a very broad success of my career as the TheMaykarLocomotive, is that I enjoy my battles more than anybody else, um, especially the ones with music. I enjoy watching my battles more than anybody else does, and that means a lot to me. That means that I did a good job. It means that I was the type of battler and the type of video maker that I wanted to be, and that means a lot to me. Because of that, it's a lot easier for me to say I have. That makes me more confident in saying that I have very few regrets with my Pokemon career. Um, I don't even regret that I quit in 2009 or 2010 because I was so different, and I'm glad that that personality didn't bleed into the TheMaykarLocomotive personality. Um, Obviously, I'm a lot different from when I started as the TheMaykarLocomotive, but I liked I like who I was as a sophomore in high school. I do not like who I was as a freshman in high school. Um, so I don't even regret that I quit Pokemon for a while. I guess if I could have started playing earlier, I would have, just so I could have been a part of that Discovery era and really more of the 2008 era. Um, but there's not a whole lot that I regret about Pokemon. Um, it's a beloved chapter of my life. I'm so glad I got so into this game and that I spent so much time with it. I don't think this was really the second video game for me that was this much a part of my life. The first being RuneScape, which I'm not even going to talk about, just for convenience like that. I have such a big story with that game too, but it's not as meaningful to me, and it's um, not as special a story. But um, I think I'll be surprised if Pokemon isn't the last video game that sees this much of my time and commitment and this much of my life devoted to. Just because I don't think there's a game out there that fits me as well. And so on early in this video, I was on the verge of tears, and I'm back there again. I'm just about ready to call this video quits. The one thing I will say, if please like comment on this video and just ask either how I'm doing or just ask a question about something I said in the video. Um, One thing I did want to mention is that my hair is really long. Um, if I haven't mentioned, I've been doing plays in college, which is new for me. I've been loving it. So I have a whole group of friends with that, and I'm not allowed to cut my hair right now because I'm in Anything Goes, starting in late March. But I just thought it was cool how my hair is parted to the left now, if you can tell. So a completely new hairstyle for me, but I like it. I think I look good. I really like how I look these days. Not gonna lie. I had starting in November this past year, I had my first real girlfriend. She's actually a junior at Duquesne. She's 21. So, go Maykar. With that older girl coming after me. 18 years without any action with ladies, and then all of a sudden, here I am dating a 21-year-old, and it was awesome. Without getting too much into my personal life, it was a really great relationship. We broke up on February 9th. It was mutual. We're still friends. We're already friends. She's in Anything Goes with me, and we're talking. We're on good terms. So it was a completely mutual breakup, and it was just, which I'm proud of myself for, that I was, with my first real breakup, it was that I could be like mature about it. Yeah, if you're curious about anything about my personal life, if you just want to talk, please do. I hope to be getting in touch with the people who care about this video soon. So if you watched, if you stuck around, thank you so much. It means a lot to me that if you listen to this story, and that's why I want people to comment. I just, if you can just say like, I enjoyed listening to this story, or if you didn't enjoy it, just say that, like, hey, it's cool that you told your Pokemon story. I would appreciate that. I would just like to know that somebody, just if somebody heard my story and if somebody cared. One thing I don't regret about my YouTube channel is the subscriber and viewer number. I don't regret that. It's just something, it's not something I'm upset about. It would be nice if more people cared about my videos, but it's not. I'm happy with the fan base I have, which is Kamon, Kooper, and me. And, a couple other people. Those are the main three. But to anybody who's still watching this video this late in it, thank you so much. Please, like I said, if you have your own version of either your Pokemon story or your perception of the 4th gen story, please post a video response, tell it. I guarantee I'll watch the whole thing and I'll comment. I think it'd be great for all of us like who stuck it out with 4th gen late into its life to like post our stories and just have this discussion about what 4th gen means to us and all that. So with that, hopefully this is not going to be the last video on my channel, but it's possible. As sad as it is to say, that's a possibility. I dearly hope that isn't the case, but I'm also not going to make any promises at this point, because my last promise was to finish Golden Sun: The Lost Age last summer, and I didn't get it done. So on that somber note, somber video, and like bittersweet, but Maykar out.